Amongst the pillars of anime lies the likes of Naruto, Cowboy Bebop, and Full Metal Alchemist. But only one claimed my heart as a youngling growing up through the mid-2000s, that being Dragon Ball Z. With the creation of Dragon Ball Z Kai, an abridged and updated version of my beloved childhood anime, I decided to revisit it to see how it held up. While this is Taco Movie Talks and a departure from film and what I normally post, I hope you can appreciate the childhood magic that stems from the creation of Akira Toriyama. And I hope that we can evolve this channel into a direction where we cover the likes of anime, books, and other things like that. What starts as Goku and his friends facing new threats of the Saiyans and evolves into Goku, Vegeta, a former foe, and the families of both rising to the new galaxy-threatening villains is something that reaches the heights that very few other films, books, what have you, or other pieces of medium at large are able to. Some episodes and characters have become beloved through this rewatch, and I'd like to share my thoughts on these characters, sagas, arcs, and beyond by going over a character tier list and sharing my rating of each episode and showing what I thought of each saga. Please enjoy this video and also please subscribe. Before we embark on the fruitful journey of ranking our favorite characters, I'd like to touch upon some observations I made across this 55-hour-long journey. Jumping in fresh and not having the background of watching Dragon Ball may have impacted my beginning, as it starts relatively lackluster, but the series as a whole does well to bring us along towards the entirety of the series. What the series does well is put the world into peril through having our protagonists back against the wall immediately. Though the battles were where the core group of Goku, Gohan, and eventually Goten, Trunks, and Vegeta are leveling up and show the capacity to overcome the eventual insurmountable odds are more appealing to me later on, they start things off well enough. Raditz turns out to be a punchline in the lore of the series, as he was able to be dispatched with much easier than the likes of Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, or Buu, but at the great cost of Goku's life, which turns out to be a huge sticking point for the series, as the Earth Dragon Balls can only bring you back once. Once Vegeta and Nappa are there, things crank up a notch, which is sick in the storyline, which builds up Gohan to be a potential successor for Goku. While this comes close to being the case by series end, only to have the rug pulled out from under us, his arc is quite nice. Nappa was my favorite of the series during the Saiyan arc, before Vegeta really gets the screen time to further develop, and eventually the eventual battle between Vegeta, Goku, Krillin, Gohan, Piccolo, and even Yajirobe is a sick ending for this saga. Diving into the second major saga, we gain more insight into Vegeta's current station within the universe, as he works for an even bigger bad named Frieza, who is bolstered by the Ginzu Force, as well as Zarbon, Dodoria, and Apu, amongst some other low-level henchmen, who are all so well designed and make up my favorite band of henchmen yet. The eventual battle between Frieza and Goku is one of the highlights of the entire series and was a defining moment for the heights this series could reach, making Frieza my favorite at this station of the series. The next season, as it were, took a lot of time to recollect its momentum from where the Frieza saga's climactic ending left us. We are introduced to time travel, which gives us future Trunks, who is awesome, as well as the androids. For my memory, I thought the androids would be my favorite of this entire series, but unfortunately, this was really not the case, as they were more bland than my memory of them was. This is all an appetizer for the eventual big bad, which is Cell. Cell's evolution is not unlike Frieza through his mechanism of needing to sting and eat or suck up humans, as well as Android 17 and 18. The eventual battles between Vegeta and Trunks with Cell, and finally Goku and Gohan with Cell, recaptured that epic finale that Frieza battles had hit prior, and cemented Gohan as the heir to the throne. This also puts Goku into Otherworld again as he dies for a second time. This is easily solvable in something that's conveniently forgotten throughout the series, which is that they discovered more powerful Dragon Balls on Namek. And these Namekian Dragon Balls allow 3 wishes, and you can be wished back as many times as possible. Goku sacrifices himself during the battle for Cell in what he thought would be the end of the fight. However, this is not the case, but after the fight, when his family tries to wish him back with the Namekian Dragon Balls, he refuses, earning himself the title of Father of the Year, which he again and again earns as he kind of ignores fatherly and husbandly duties for the majority of the entire series. The final 3 seasons all really serve up to build up an eventual fight with Buu, a villain so great he could hold up his end of the bargain to make these seasons just as good as those prior to it. Though it should be noted that the Saiyaman saga was a real step back for the series, and the eventual move to the World Tournament, the World Martial Arts Tournament, it was a neat introduction in a saga that I was actually really looking forward to off the hype that had been built up around it. I think everyone, including myself, was intrigued by the possibility of some of these great protagonists facing off. We're again swerved into the Majinn Buu lore, where the tournament devolves as the participants must battle a greater threat, thus introducing Deborah, a great high-level henchman. Buu's eventual introduction is tremendous, and his evolution throughout the remainder of the series serves to show how versatile a character he is. Having Sweet Buu, then Evil Buu, and finally Kid Buu is a testament to how well developed the character was, as he takes great aspects from Cell's characteristics, but includes the spin in which he can absorb the abilities of those he absorbs as well. These eventual battles made for amazing episodes from the start of the Majin Buu saga through the Fusion saga and into the Kid Buu saga. Things begin to wind down towards the end, but we're left with a world that calls for more action. And now on to the character tier list. Dragon Ball Z was an integral part of my growing up, and that attachment, I think it does stick with you for a long time, because I still remember distinctly watching Toonami back in the day, and the excitement that came as Dragon Ball Z was about to come on, and the countless battles that you were just super engaged with as a kid. And it made me want to rewatch the series, and I did so. I watched 167 episodes of Dragon Ball Z Kai, and I have absolutely no regrets, because quite honestly, it's not just as good as I remember it. It quite honestly, it could be even better than I remember it. And I know a lot of people who are very much into anime probably think there are a lot of animes that are better, but I just want to share my appreciation for this series with those who also enjoy it by going over some of my favorite characters, my favorite sagas, and my favorite series, and just overall thoughts about Dragon Ball Z Kai and the magic that it was. And I want to start that by doing a character tier list. What you're going to find here is, because these characters are untitled or unlabeled rather, that my ability to recall names on some people that aren't very involved or are very involved maybe is not going to be spectacular. So what I want to know, though, who are your favorite characters? Where do you agree, disagree? Favorite saga, favorite season, overall thoughts? And on top of that, I want you to let me know, should I do something like this again? Should I rewatch or watch Dragon Ball GT and or Super? Should I do both? Should I skip one and only do the other? Let me know your thoughts on that down below. And I really do appreciate you checking this out. Starting up top, we have Appa, I think, the witch who brings both Goku and Vegeta back to Earth. Not very memorable. Not much to say about that. Here we have Boppity. He's a really good evil villain, I would say. He's at least B tier, and we'll see if he goes up. He's relatively interesting. He has magic, which is different in a world where it seems like combat is first and foremost. Next, we have Bardock, which is Goku's father. And we're just going to put him A tier. We don't see a lot of him, but the little bit that we do see is pretty sick. Next, we have Berter, I believe it's pronounced. I always think of it as Burner. I'm going to put him just below Bardock. Him being like a speed demon, the fastest in the galaxy. While when Goku surpasses that in their battle, I mean, it makes Goku seem more important. And it was really cool when you thought, oh, wow, this is the fastest fighter in the galaxy. Next, we have Buu and Mr. Satan's dog. I think he goes by the name of B in the show. Automatic S tier. I fell in love with this dog almost immediately. Next, we have Bulma, Bulma's mom, and she just goes into E tier. E tier isn't like, I don't dislike them. It's nearly reserved for just characters that are kind of not very memorable. Maybe it's just character design or a relationship to another character. That is the only like actual thing that is memorable. Next, we have Bubbles, who is Kai's monkey, and I really like Bubbles. I'm gonna go B tier just because, you know, he's kind of funny. He's pretty funny for the scenes he's in, but he's just not. He doesn't get a ton of screen time. We're gonna go Bulma next. I don't like Bulma at all. I find her to actually be annoying, and I do think that there is humor that comes out of that annoyance, but I just can't, in good conscience, put her high for that. I can't make it make sense, really. She's just not... I dislike her. She's a character I love to hate, though, I will say. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of her. She does make some scenes better by kind of playing into that, but I'm gonna leave it stand where it's at. Because a lot of the other characters I'm either neutral on or like. Pretty much E is neutral, and then even up from there, I pretty much like them. Next, we have Boo, or Big Boo. He's S tier as well. Then we have 16. I really thought I was going to love 16. And he was pretty cool, but it just felt like they could have done more with him. To have Boppity above him does feel really weird, but I have to give Boppity credit because he really was evil and pretty integral story-wise. Then we have 17. I feel even less for him, though. He had more of an attitude, and like at the beginning, obviously, 17 was had more character, but then the sacrifice that 16 makes kind of gives him the slight edge. And then we have 18, who starts out really uninteresting and then is Krillin's wife. It doesn't do much for me. I like all these characters, and in my memory, I thought the Android saga was a lot sicker than it actually was. It turned out that it was just a decent preface for the Cell saga, quite honestly. Then we have another one of the androids. I can't remember the name, but I actually like this guy the most. He might be B tier. We're gonna go B tier, and we're gonna go above Bubbles, but just below Boppity. I actually really like the design of this android's, their animation style, their character design. Not in it for a ton, but is interesting to see fight, at least from the get-go. Then we have Perfect Cell. I really, really enjoy everything about Cell, and Cell seems like it heavily influences what Buu is to become. I like the fact that it's like it has to suck up the power from others. Buu is cool in that he absorbs others, and I think that actually works better because Cell, once he kind of accomplishes his perfect form, isn't dead set on trying to just absorb others for pure power and to gain power. I really like the Cell saga, so it does feel weird to only put him A and Buu S, but the character, his lore is more interesting than the character in action outside of the fights. The fights are tremendous. Chiaotzu, we're going to go D tier right now. Chi-Chi, same as Bulma, just not a big fan. El Diablo. So we have Deborah next. Really cool look. Cool powers as well. I really liked him in it. I feel like I have to go A tier for him and just above Birder because we actually get a little bit more of him in comparison to Birder. So as far as henchman goes, he's like one of the top tier henchmen. We're going to go next we have Grown Up Dende. I loved Dende as a kid in the Cell Saga, or not the Cell Saga, the Frieza Saga. He was awesome. Grew a huge attachment to him. And then he's just overall solid after that. I'm going to go solid B for him. Next, Dodora. He was super cool. I loved his animation style. I think I'm going to go solid B tier for him because he was really cool and I enjoyed when we finally got to see him in battle. But there was definite hype there. That's what I really liked about the Frieza saga is there was like a ton of people who looked very interesting and you wanted to see fight. And in Cell Saga, you just get Cell. And in Buu, you just get Buu. So to have all of these like evil forces, well, no, Buu, you get Dodor, or you get Majin, the whole Majin crew. So you do get that. Cell, not so much. Well, I guess the androids are there too. I don't know. Frieza was the first one to really like impress me with the secondary villains. And I really liked pretty much most of them. Next, we have Bulma's dad. He goes right below Chiaotzu. He's useful, he's funny, he's cool, and just a solid character. Then we have another android. I put him above the bigger one. The way he just like poked his hand through Yamcha was sick. And I really enjoyed that. And that's what kind of solidified me liking him. And a very interesting design, too. Both of them. But I give the slight edge to the older looking gentleman. Then we have the older Kai. He's A tier. I found him to be really funny. That type of humor really got to me. And it was at the end that I really thought the humor of the series started to shine through. So it was cool as hell to have his inclusion. So he's got to be A tier. Next, we kind of have the judge and the juror who sends everyone to heaven or hell. Really didn't have much character for me. I remember him, but not much. The evil Buu who split. He didn't do much too. Like, cool design, but I'll go B tier. He's just like, he's not in it for long either. So, very forgettable. I think this is the guy with the gun who shoots Raditz in the first episode. So F tier just because I barely remember him, and it's like you're in one scene. Then we have Frieza. Frieza is one of my favorite villains of the entire series. I loved him, and his final design is super sick. Then we have Future Trunks. I'm gonna go pretty much top of A tier, just below Cell. He was super cool, and his Super Saiyan forms were also sick. Next we have Ginzu, head of the Ginyu Force, or Ginyu. I'll go above Birder. He's the top dog. I actually thought Birder was cooler, and then, you get Ginyu. So I'll just give him the slight edge, but he's A tier. Really cool. The whole idea of the Ginyu Force. Goku, I have to go top of A tier for him. He's funny. He is obviously a part of some of the best scenes of the entire series because he's in the battles. But he makes a lot of decisions, and this is writing, but so is everything else, that just irked me a little bit, so I can't quite put him S tier, as controversial as that might be. Then we have Goten, and I like Goten, and actually find him to be like one of the funniest characters in the whole damn thing. The bug who trains with Kai and Goku, he's relatively funny. I'll go top of D tier. Next is Guldo. I like Guldo. I'm gonna go nearly top of B tier. I thought his special attacks were really cool. Neat design. I like the fact that he was kind of underpowered aside from his overpowered special abilities. It made him feel like an inspired character that wasn't just like, oh my gosh, he's the most powerful thing we've ever seen. It was like an interesting henchman, because you can only do that with like your main guys, really. Then we have the Grand Elder on planet Namek. He goes solid D tier. These are just kind of like guys I don't mind at all, and kind of I have an affinity for, whereas E is just pretty much neutral, and then F's like I don't care. Again, I'm neutral on Chi-Chi's Faja. Dr. Satan, aka Mr. Satan, is I'm gonna go above Goten. Hilarious. Everything about that character is just played up to be hilarious. Next, we have my probably least favorite member of the Ginyu Force, which is literally, I honestly, I think enough to go below the androids. I just, you don't see him a lot in combat, and he does have, I think, maybe one or two special moves, but he just feels relatively unimportant in comparison to the other members of the Ginyu Force or Frieza's squad. Next, we have the TV announcer during the Cell Saga, who is pretty funny. We're going to put him bottom of C tier. The Grand Elder. Or no, this is Kami, I believe. Kami, I don't get a ton. We'll put him just above Gregory. The cat, bottom of D tier. I just realized I didn't say the name. It's Geis or Jice or Geis. Then we have Kibito. Kibito, just below the androids. Kid Buu, for me, it honestly comes down to, I think he's cooler than Big Buu. Big Buu is funnier. Kid Buu is pretty badass. Cell's Faja, not Cell. I always get Frieza's Faja. He goes top of B tier. He's only in it for a very short period of time, and is cut down quite literally in quick succession to Trunks. This is like the grand leader, like the president or something. King Kai is hilarious. He goes bottom of B tier or A tier with the other funny ass characters. This is, I want to say a pool, but he doesn't have the spots. I'm going to treat him as though he's a pool, even though I don't think this is not him. Facially, that's not him. But I don't know who this is. I would say Apul is pretty near the top of B tier. We're going to go just below Keto. This guy, I'm pretty sure, is just the guy that Vegeta was going to battle in the first round of the literally last world tournament. Forgettable. Don't even know if that's him. E tier. Krillin, he's awesome. I love him. We're going to go just above Cap and Ginyu. 18 in Krillin's daughter. Just very forgettable. We're going to go below Balmish Diad. Killer Mask, I believe is what his name is. Forgettable as well. Though the storyline where they pretend to be him, Goten and Trunks, is pretty awesome. And we're just going to tweak. I want Goten just above Mr. Satan. Grand Elder, the newest Grand Elder, relatively forgetful. D. Mr. Popo, I enjoy him. I find him funny in the short amount of scenes that he's in. We're going to go bottom of B tier, just with Bubbles. Master Roshi, dope-ass sense of humor, goes right with these three at the bottom of A tier. This, I think, is Nails, and he's memorable enough to be just below Kibito. Nappa know-how. He was my favorite villain of the Saiyan saga. Mr. Pig, don't even know who this is. E tier. Piccolo, he's a top boss. He goes right above Nappa. The Namek Dragon, we're going to go top of D tier. This kitty cat thing, just basically anywhere in D tier. Very forgettable. Raditz. He was a cool villain in the Saiyan saga. I thought he was all right. But that feels okay. C tier, not great in retrospect, but he served his purpose to be that first guy. Raccoon, he goes above Frieza's dad. He's pretty cool. And Frieza's dad, you got to go lower, actually. Just such a short period of time, not enough to be memorable. Earth Dragon, they don't do much for me. Spopovich, just below Kibito, not very memorable. Big Badass Buu. I used to always love Kid Buu more. I'm gonna go the top dog. He was so cool. I like Buu. To me, he seems slightly inspired by like the demon in The Exorcist, with the head turn. And the physically imposing one is really cool, as well as the transformations he makes. I think I like the big one the most. Supreme Kai, more like Supreme Sai. Just messes up everything once he is initially involved in the Buu saga. And look, I'm glad that he did, because then we get all the battles that we did. But at the same time, not as useful as you thought he should have been, quite frankly. Tien, really cool, is not utilized a ton, but is a cool character for sure. We already got Future Trunks, and that's just kind of a Kid Trunks, though. He's tops with Goten, and actually goes up there with him. Oob is cool for when he's in, but doesn't come in. He's literally in the last 2 episodes. So go just below these androids. Vegeta, I just love the crafting of a Vegeta. He's my favorite character. I get the hype. I see why everyone else loves him the most. Videl is certainly better than Chi-Chi and Bulma. No doubt about that. Just, it doesn't do enough. Well, not doesn't do enough. It's just, it's tough when everyone else is so kick-ass. Yarobi is funny, and I do enjoy Yarobi. He's not super funny, but funny enough to go above Yub. One of the monsters that Goku had to fight before he got down to Boppity, he's all right. We'll go above Raditz, obviously, and above Videl, but not above the androids. The announcer for the Worlds Tournament, your C tier as well. Yamcha, very solid. I actually like him as just like a side non-fighter character. Goes just below the androids. Next we have the other Majinn henchman. He's even more forgettable than Spopovich. Zarbon is really cool. His transformation is like, makes him one of the dopest, quite honestly. Definitely goes above a pool, and he's top of B tier. Gohan, I mean, his power level makes things really, really interesting. I go just below Trunks because he's kind of white meat baby face, but super interesting in that he was just from child to a an adult, was able to fight amongst the best. Very much like Goku in that way. So, but his battles are awesome. He just has slightly less personality than Goku and Trunks. And then Pan. Pan is, you only see her for a few episodes, but she's pretty good for what she is. This is the character aspect of this. Let me know your thoughts on that down below, and we will go into the saga and season aspect next. To wrap things up, I wanted to show you this graph, which just kind of shows what I rated every episode, whilst kind of organizing it into being able to see what saga it was in. And I also did the same for seasons, and we can look at that. But you can see that there's a clear buildup as we get from the beginning of everything with the Raditz saga to the eventual Frieza saga, where we hit our first 10 out of 10, and then again we hit a 10 out of 10. And this cycle continues as we go from Frieza to eventually Cell. Generally, and it's not just because I love these villains so much, though that is definitely the case, but oftentimes the bigger the battle, the more important the episode seemed, and the more I enjoyed it. So that is kind of the case that you'll see, once you get to the actual battles, where a lot's on the line. Stakes are highest, that's when I enjoyed it the very most. So we go from the Cell saga to the Cell games, which is again where we hit super high highs. So we kind of have first third wrapped up with some really great stuff. Then a little past the halfway point, Cell games brings it back, and then we kind of hit another valley that we eventually overcome once we get to the Majinn Buu saga. And that's where things really take off, and we end things on a really spectacular note until really just the last 1, 2, 3. That's still a very good episode, a 9 out of 10. But the last 3, we start to begin to go through another valley. But the sagas are really good. Let's take a look at what I thought about the seasons. And obviously you're seeing the same data just kind of displayed. Obviously season 1 had some pretty good parts. Season 2 is where things start to really take off. Honestly, season 3, a little bit better than 1, but not as good as 2, though maybe more consistent, just because the ending of season 2 is where things started to get good. Then season 4, a great season. Cell Games was just such a great idea. It's also one of the shorter seasons. Then the World Tournament saga is really just cranking things up for the Majinn Buu saga, where things, start at just a 10 and stay there for quite a while. Super high highs with that. and then the Evil Buu, which is probably the highest rated out of it all, despite having the responsibility to kind of wind things down. And I'll let you see what the averages were for each. Series average 7.82, which I would consider it's like really close to just the whole thing being great. Now I would describe it as great and amazing, honestly, because it has heights that are amazing, but like the consistency of it it's pretty much great for the most part. So this is the average of each saga and each season. As you can see, Saiyan Saga Season 1, lowest rated, highest rated being the last season, the Evil Buu Season 7. But the Fusion Saga was my favorite, and my least favorite is actually closer towards the end, the Great Saiyaman Saga, which I noted in the beginning of this episode. Let me know, what's your favorite saga, favorite character, favorite season? Let's talk about Dragon Ball Z Kai down below. I appreciate you joining me throughout this entire video, and I will catch you on the flippity flip. Bye, y'all.